Boomboxes, also known as ghetto blasters, were most popular in the 1980s and 90s and are a significant part of the nostalgia of those years. Essentially, they were just portable radios that encompassed one or two cassette tape players, but more than that, it was the centerpiece that brought people together, that gave us breakdancing, and played an instrumental part in the rise of hip-hop, while at the same time serving as a showcase piece that one could flaunt and be proud of. The bigger, the better. Although the European company Philips is known for having introduced the first portable radio with a cassette player, some of the most popular boomboxes found in North America were manufactured in Japan by Sony, Sanyo, Hitachi, JVC, Toshiba, AIWA, and Sharp. The boombox also helped pave the way for mixtapes, which served as a way of expressing oneself in a multitude of ways. Whether you were happy, sad, or in love, you carried that radio around, and all you had to do was hit the play button and let your friends and people around you hear and know what you felt inside. Well, I feel pretty good about this restoration, and I think it's an important part of history, so stick around and watch me open one up and give it a new life. Hello everyone and welcome, I'm the Retro Repair Guy. I wanted to say a big thank you to all the existing and the new subscribers, because in less than a year this channel has grown so much, and it's thanks to all of you for commenting, subscribing, for putting the thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and I really want to say thank you. You know, these are things that cost nothing, and you've really helped me grow, and I really appreciate it. At the same time, I hope you've enjoyed the Halloween episode from last time. There was some strange things that came in my headphones, you know, when I was editing, and I was like, wow, that's strange. But the answers really did come from the radio, so we didn't always hear them at the same time. They were low for some reason, boosted them in post. But we had fun anyways. We had fun filming it, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was something a little different. Now back to regular business today. By the way, I'm a bit congested if I sound strange. I've got a man cold, so these are very serious, all right? But back to regular business, we're looking at the Panasonic RX-CS780. Let's just dive in and go take a look. I'll give you my 2 cents about the radio a little later. The unit powers on. However, even with the volume on maximum, there's barely any sound coming out. I also tried to play a brand new cassette I had recorded, but the unit just eats up the tape, and of course, the sound is horrible. So let's open it up. I began by testing the potentiometer for the volume to make sure it's operating correctly. I wanted to future-proof the unit, but did not want to recap the entire boombox, so I decided to recap the power supply sections since those heat up the most and are prone to failure. But I couldn't help myself and recapped the graphic equalizer circuit board since I had all the parts on hand and it was an easy and quick job. I replaced all the capacitors with Nichicon audio capacitors that were also rated at higher voltages and temperature. The large 4700 microfarad capacitor is part of the power supply, and although it looked like it leaked, it was actually glued down. Testing the capacitor showed it had a high resistance, also called ESR, and this is an indication that it was time to replace it before something happens. I replaced it with an audio capacitor of the same voltage but higher temperature rating of 105 degrees. I also noticed even before I changed the capacitors, there were a few traces lifting which only got worse with removing the old caps, even if I was gentle and put the heat down on the soldering iron. The traces need to be repaired with small jumpers in order to ensure that the connection isn't severed in the future. While testing the newly changed parts, I noticed the volume fluctuate as I played with the power switch that could be due to cold soldering, dirt inside, or a faulty switch. So, I redid all the soldering on the power switch and the two others, and then sprayed some electrical contact cleaner inside of each. I did the same for the potentiometers and the record switch. I tested the unit a second time and noticed the ribbon cable that connected the two boards was causing a problem, so I cut the ends and resoldered the connections. I also noticed the traces lifting on the amplifier transistor on the larger board and repaired that with two small jumpers.
Or it's, a short turnaround.
I finished by cleaning the board with a soft toothbrush and 99% alcohol. And here's the recapped equalizer board. I also removed all the thermal paste residue from the old transistor and the heatsink. I started by blowing out all the dust and cleaning the heads with 99% alcohol. I then cleaned the pulleys where the old belt had melted. I have bags full of belts, so I fitted a new one, making sure the belt was not too tight or too loose and that the pulleys turned easily. For the secondary belt, it was a little easier since it was still in place, but I had to remove the motor to access it. Using the old belt as a guide, I replaced it with a new one that was just a tad smaller to account for the wear and the loss of elasticity on the belt. I then cleaned the pulleys and installed the two new belts. I cleaned the pinch roller and cap stands using rubber renew on the pinch rollers to make sure they don't slip and grab the tape properly, and 99% alcohol on the cap stands. One last problem I encountered was with the plastic cap that was holding down a spring on one of the gears. The plastic had cracked at the seams and was barely holding. I glued the cap back together with a glue gun and it was not holding the gear properly in place. So I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on the radio, alright? It's a beautiful radio. I love the 80s and 90s stuff. I love boomboxes. I was a bit disappointed in all the time I put in. Now, I'm not sure what this is due to, but I'll tell you something. I'm very surprised because this is a 90s boombox made in Japan. And for some strange reason, everything was falling apart in this radio. Now, maybe I got a lemon. Maybe it's been put through a lot of hell. But there's also some quality, issues to it. Certain things that felt cheap. The wires felt cheap inside. The ribbon cable felt cheap. Everything seems like it was falling apart. The board, the traces were all lifting everywhere. Is that from poor manufacturing or having put through hell? I don't know. But I repaired some stuff from 1977 that wasn't falling apart like that. It actually seemed strong and it was holding, and it had been put through hell. So I'm a bit disappointed, and I hate saying that, like I said, because I love this old stuff. But I did put in a lot of time, and as soon as I'd fix something, something else was be breaking. So the gears that are for the tape deck. Yes, they're made out of plastic, but even on top, when you have a little spring and you have a little clamp on top, they're normally metal. All those were plastic and they had busted right through as well. So I ended up gluing it, ended up fixing this and that. This was driving me insane, so I'm a little bit disappointed. And we will see, however, how it sounds. So if you have one, by the way, I apologize. This is just my opinion. I really was a little unhappy fixing this one. I couldn't wait for it to finish. All right, well, it's at least put back together. Whew. I really was happy that this one was finished. And anyways, but you know, it doesn't sound that bad. It gets strong, okay? It can get high, but unlike, for example, obviously this is not comparable, but if I take the 1977 OCL amp that I fixed, had punch, but it was clear, nice sound. This one can get very loud, but as loud as it can also get it, you know, the sound's not going to be as clear. It's going to be, there's some distortion there. So great for street, for, you know, for stuff you want to put a cassette in and play and get loud. Yeah, sure, that was good. For a quality unit, I'm not that happy, but either way, we're going to go listen to it in a minute. And of course, I'm, you know, going to tell you as usual, there's the, you know, camera processing here. I mean, the camera microphone that it's processing, and then in the computer compressing for YouTube. Take that into consideration, but it doesn't sound half bad. So let's go take a look.
Trip down to the coast. You love me, I love you most. Drove all night to get to Tallahassee, but you woke up to the sea. Took one look around and screamed. Turned around 'cause I forgot my sunscreen. I knew this was wrong from the beginning. Knew I should run away, but you had your hopes in me. Spicy, sweet, cooling in your crazy. Something about us to say. Hello, catastrophe. Back to April 2012, things were going pretty well. Thought it time that I should pop.